Viewers, Americans are voting in a historic election to decide their next president. But this election goes beyond borders. It's capturing the world's attention, including here in India. In an unprecedented dead heat, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are neck and neck, each striving for a path to the White House with no clear winner currently in sight. Now, early voting numbers in the US are record-breaking, showing unprecedented turnout and a lot of interest in the election. As per some early trends, Donald Trump seems to be having a slender edge. This is a high-stakes election for Americans and for the world, with both campaigns rallying every single voter they can reach. In this race, which is a very tight one, every vote could be the one that tips the balance, and that's something we in India can appreciate, having seen close contests in our own elections. Now, for India, a nation that values its partnership with the United States, the outcome of this race is going to be pivotal, with both Kamala Harris and Trump representing very different directions for the US-India relations. Now, in key battleground states like Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Pennsylvania, both the candidates are fighting tooth and nail. Now, Harris seems to be having a slight lead in states like Nevada and North Carolina, but Donald Trump has the edge in Arizona and in Michigan and Pennsylvania, two states that could ultimately decide the election. The candidates are locked in an intense contest, with multiple polls showing a near-perfect split. Now let's talk about the Indian Americans, who have emerged as a very, very important voting bloc in America. Now, Indian Americans, numbering approximately 4.8 million or 48 lakh in the United States, it is the second largest immigrant community after the Mexicans, and also the highest earning ethnic group in the USA, with significant presence in IT, engineering and medicine sector. Now, Indian Americans are undoubtedly a significant voting bloc, especially in key swing states. Their votes in these swing states can influence the election outcomes. Now, Indian Americans have traditionally voted for the Democrats, but this election seems to be different. Will Indian Americans, a key voting bloc, change their voting patterns this time and switch to the Republicans? Let's get in some voices on why the Indian American vote or the Hindu vote matters even in the US.
The race is very, very tight in the battleground states. There's no question about it. The Hindu and Indian vote in the battleground states, which is almost 1 million votes in the battleground, 7 battleground states when you combine them. So that's what is happening. Hindu and Indian Americans are going to decide who the next president of the United States will be.
All right, we have Chris joining us, correspondent of Voice of America. Chris, very important day in the US. What's the mood on the ground? Are we looking at any last-minute shifts in the sentiment that could swing the results? All right, so Chris, welcome to Times Now. Correspondent of Voice of America joining us live. Chris, it's polling day, and what is the mood on the ground? Any last-minute shifts in the sentiment that could swing the results?
Well, we're seeing some of the national polls move in Kamala Harris's direction, and there was a poll in Iowa that came out over the weekend that showed her up 3 points in that state. That's not even a battleground state. That's a state that's reliably been Republican since 2012. So if that holds true across some of these other Midwestern states like Michigan, where I'm at right now, that could mean trouble for Donald Trump and good news for Kamala Harris. But as far as the mood on the ground, in a state like Michigan, which is a battleground state, as I've said, they are just ready for it to be over. They've been inundated with tons of political ads for both candidates, very harsh words on immigration, the border, whether Donald Trump is a threat to democracy from the Democratic side, and not just the presidential candidates, but the congressional candidates who are running in the Republican and Democratic races. And Michigan is one of the states that has an open Senate seat. So the result of that race could help determine control of the Senate.
Absolutely. And you're talking about the key swing states, and all eyes are on these states, be it Michigan, be it Pennsylvania or Georgia, that are up for grabs. How crucial are these states today? Could they flip the final outcome?
Yes, absolutely, because Donald Trump took the so-called blue wall. He broke the blue wall of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan in 2016. And then in 2020, during COVID, current President Joe Biden rebuilt the blue wall. And, that map that you have up tells the story. The candidates have to get, the winning candidate has to get to 270 electoral votes. And the path is through those states, because California has 54 votes, and that's going to be blue, and Texas has 40, and that's going to be red. So they've got to go through states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about the India viewpoint and the India perspective. India has a lot at stake at this point of time. How do you look at the US-India ties? Will they evolve, with a Harris versus a Trump return? If you could just decode that for our audiences.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would expect that under a Harris presidency, experts believe that their approach will continue, and the Biden approach has been to have these overlapping multilaterals like the Quad, AUKUS. So expect that approach to continue, whereas Donald Trump has more of a unilateral approach. He has a very good relationship with PM Modi, so he thinks he can get into a room with him and charm him, and they can just agree on things that they want. So whether something's in their mutual interest, that's how Donald Trump operates. We've seen it with him, unconventionally meeting with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. So he just believes that only he can fix things. That's his approach. And he doesn't believe in conventional diplomacy. He believes in just sitting down face to face, one-on-one.
Right. So, when it comes to Kamala Harris, her Indian roots have often been highlighted and discussed. Now, if she wins, should India expect continuity in the US-India ties as we saw over the last few years, or might her heritage bring, a fresh approach and deepen the relationship further?
Yeah, that remains to be seen, because she really hasn't made a big deal of it on the campaign trail. She has talked about it when it's been asked about, but she hasn't made it a main theme, whether it's the fact that she would be the first Black president, the first Indian president, and the first woman president. She really hasn't highlighted those things, the historic nature of her candidacy. But she has tried to court Indian American voters by holding cultural events, meeting with Indian American business executives, and phone banking and canvassing in some of their native languages. Harris also has opened her official residence to scores of Indian Americans at an annual Diwali party since she's been vice president.
And like you've also highlighted the camaraderie between Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi. We saw that play out multiple times. In fact, in the run-up to this day, Donald Trump made a very significant statement when it comes to the plight of persecuted Hindus in Bangladesh. So if Trump returns, could we expect a renewed partnership, and what might that mean for India? If you could just go into the specifics, especially in context of what Donald Trump said recently.
Right, and he used his Truth Social platform to strongly condemn the attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh, and he accused Kamala Harris of being, not caring and being light on those attacks. So, yeah, I think we can expect that he will continue his close relationship with Modi, but again, that he will favor a unilateral approach to diplomacy. But both Republicans and Democrats agree that India is a key partner in countering China's aggression in the Indo-Pacific region. So expect some openings for India as the U.S. looks to decouple away from China in the areas of solar panels and semiconductor manufacturing if Trump wins and goes through with some of the tariffs on Chinese goods. But the other side of the coin is he has called India the biggest abuser and vowed reciprocal tariffs to punish New Delhi for imposing 80% import duties on U.S.-made motorcycles. So, he's initiated trade investigations against India, and he removed New Delhi from a duty-free program. So he's kind of a wild card in how he's going to behave. He has a close relationship with Modi, but he is really trying to protect U.S. industry. because of his approach.
Yeah, so when it comes to the way India is looking at these very important elections, it's Donald Trump, yes, who brings in a bit of unpredictability, and then there is also Kamala Harris. There is a lot riding on her as well. Thank you so much, Chris, for putting that into perspective. We'll keep coming back to you.